All right, guys, and welcome back to California Insurance Agents Group. And I have yet again Christian Brindle, another familiar face of the group and one of the moderators, and also just an all-around great human being, but happens to just kill it in the Medicare business. So, Christian, just happy to have you back on here. How is your Monday treating you right now?
Monday's treated me great, Andrew. Thank you for having me back. It's always a pleasure. It's always a ton of fun, and we always have, great, insightful conversations that I think can really benefit agents, and that's ultimately always the name of the game. So, thank you for having me back. I'm excited.
Love having you here. Information is always key, and I always learn something from you. So I hope everybody else does too as well. So if you guys are tuning in right now, then we have a really, really fun topic for you guys today. And this is something that comes up too many times in our industry, and this is
Mhm.
probably the biggest problem that everybody has. A lead problem, a marketing problem, and ultimately a branding problem where, your phone is just you want your phone to ring consistently through your efforts, be it paid marketing, be it just branding, be it organic marketing, what have you. So Christian Brindle is obviously qualified to talk about this. So we'll break down marketing, branding, all of that good stuff in this video, and also throw in a couple nuggets and do a quick review about a very cool event coming up here, and we'll get into that at the end. But Christian, so for an agent, let's say even we can go new agents, we can go middle of the pack agents, we can go even branding at your level. Now, what are some tips and tricks you have for people to start marketing, to when they start getting results from said marketing, how to expand on that, and ultimately how to create a brand?
Absolutely. This is by far one of my favorite topics to talk about as well. So I just, just as you're asking the question, my mind starts, just going with possibilities. I think the first thing I'll say with marketing and branding is there's levels to this thing, right? We've talked about a multitude of different things together so far on, doing some of these videos together. And it kind of always has come back to levels, right? There's like different stages you have to go through. And marketing is and branding is no different. To answer your first question about like what's a good way for someone to start, let's start there, right? Somebody that has never done any marketing before, they've never done any branding before, and they need to start, or they have a desire to start. The first thing you can do is try something, right? Because when it comes down to marketing, it's so different than buying a lead. With a lead, you know exactly typically what you're getting. You know exactly what you're going to pay for the lead. A lot of leads are going to be like at set prices. You know exactly what how many leads you're going to get. Like if I do a lead order and I'm paying $20 a lead, let's say from a service, and I'm buying 10 leads, I know for a fact I'm getting 10. Like there's no doubt about it. Now, how many will I close? Who knows? But at least I know I have 10 opportunities to make a sale. With marketing, you in the same breath, you could very well get nothing with the same amount of ad spend, or you can get 20 leads for the cost of 10 if I bought them. And it can be anywhere in between. And marketing really has to do with being almost like a mad scientist and trying things and testing things. Testing is going to be your best friend. The best way that you can get into it, though, is just to start with one thing. One thing. It could be sending out branded direct mail. You could try running some branded Facebook ads. You could try there's I mean I won't get too ahead of it because there's a lot we can talk about on this video, but you just want to try something and put a little bit of money into it. Maybe it's $300 to $500 or something like that, and tweak your process as you go. The biggest thing I can say with marketing is if I'm running an ad or something along those lines and it doesn't work, it doesn't mean that ads don't work. Clearly, that's not the case. There's people that are running ads at a super high level and crushing it. So What it tells me is not that the ads don't work, it's that my ad right now, the way it's structured, isn't working. And so what does that mean? I have to tweak it. I have to change what am I saying in my ad copy? What does my landing page look like that they're going to? What is my targeting, right? I I can't believe in 2023 that there's Medicare agents like in Kansas that run Facebook ads and they get targeted to me. Still, this happens. I'm 30 years old on Facebook. I haven't changed my age. I don't live in Kansas. They only do business in Kansas, and they're showing their ad to me, which means their ad spend is going towards showing it to 20 to 30-year-olds all over the country. Like they don't have their targeting figured out. So they're just Facebook's eating up their budget and showing it to all the wrong people. So testing, maybe the targeting's wrong, all of that stuff. But the best thing is to understand that it's a process you have to test. And but the best way is to start with one thing and just kind of almost be like a mad scientist with it.
Yeah, I mean, and testing in itself is pretty, it is a learning curve, right? Testing
Mm-hmm.
your lookalike audiences, A/B testing, everything you have to test in order for your campaign to be successful, but just scaling it back, for a new agent, right, that doesn't know
Yes.
what this means, and they're like, oh, I don't even have a Facebook business page. I
Yeah.
have a cell phone, I have a computer, and maybe a CRM. So for those people, and then we'll go in, we'll go in classes, I guess, from the new agent, the medium agent, and the people who are killing it.
Yeah.
So for newer agents, let's say you come into the industry, or you are, just you have another job maybe, and you're looking into coming into the industry. What are some good marketing tips from them? Like, I know it's going to come down to something that has to do with obviously organic outreach, and then
Yeah.
playing around maybe if they have a budget with Facebook ads, and then maybe some, I mean, they're going to have to buy leads. It is just sometimes a necessary, not evil, but a necessary step to being an agent. As much as people will talk crap about non-exclusive data leads or something like that, there could be a place for it, right? And Christian,
Sure.
you're pretty good about that. I used to try to tackle that as a challenge, and try to see if I can turn nothing into something. But for the new agent, what are some marketing tips for them?
Yeah, I think if you're brand new, right? Let's take it from the place that I mean, I think you mentioned it perfectly. They've got another job. They're just getting into the business. Um, I mean, usually what I would say to an agent that's brand new is, and we've talked about this before, I'm not 100% sure that doing any paid marketing or advertising is going to be in their best interest unless they have a background in it. Because it's just too much for them to learn, right? If they're getting into Medicare, they're getting into ACA, they don't know their products very well. They don't know how the whole system works very well. They don't understand the carriers yet very well. And unless they had some prior sales experience, they probably don't know how to sell. So that's a lot to learn right off the bat. So if they're trying to learn how to run ads and on top of that, that's just a bit much. So usually if an agent is brand new, I tell them that if you're going to spend any money, buy leads, because again, you have guaranteed opportunities. You know exactly how many leads you're going to get. It's a pay per lead system usually. And once you've kind of built some momentum and a foundation, then maybe you can kind of mess around with paid advertising. It doesn't mean you can't brand though. It doesn't mean that you can't do some kind of branding. Um, One thing that you can do is figure out what your brand is going to be, have a logo created. You can probably get one created off of Fiverr for 30 to 50 bucks, maybe $100, something like that. Um, but get some kind of logo. And then one thing you can be doing with that brand is you get some business cards made, maybe some brochures, and that's a great way to tackle that grassroots marketing strategy, right? You go around your community and you use that brand, be like, hey, I'm Christian with Senior Healthcare advisors or something like that. That's probably a name. I'm sorry. If it is a name, I didn't mean to rip you off,
A
but
couple companies have that name too.
yeah, probably about 26, but um but this we our mission is we are here to help seniors live a better life by not having to worry about Medicare. That's our purpose. That's our mission statement. And I want to be an asset to your residents in the 55 and up communities and the assisted living facilities. I want to be an asset to your clients for tax advisors, law firms, elder law, financial planners. And so you have a business card with a nice logo on it. Like that is branding, right? Like you're using your brand. It might not be running an ad that's branded, but it's sweat equity branding, right? But you're not just going in yourself. You have something to present to them. One thing that I used to do early on in my career is I made up some nice branded pamphlets with my picture on them and everything like that. And I would like when I would go out on appointments, I wouldn't just do it. But if I was going out on appointments and I drove past a laundromat or something, I'd pop in a laundromat and usually they have bulletin boards and I throw my pamphlets up on the bulletin boards. I put them up in coffee shops and things like that. And people see those and people will call. It's hustle. You're hitting the ground and pound kind of mentality. Funniest story ever. Last year, I think it was last year, maybe it was 2 years ago. I wanted to demonstrate how you can do this. So I made a video on our channel about it. And so my wife was with me. She was following me around with a camera, videoing me. And there's some people in the stores, they're like chasing me out and stuff. And they're like, get out of here. I'm walking in with stuff and like putting stuff on their bulletin boards and then, bugging out. They're like, what are you doing? You have to buy something. It's the greatest. But yeah, I mean, that kind of stuff. Does it work a ton? No, but can you get a few extra clients out of it for like very little effort? Absolutely. And you just, if I'm driving to an appointment and I'm driving by a local coffee shop or something, or like a library or a post office, there's still a bunch of our business cards at the post office across the street from our office. I'm like, they're old cards and everything. And I'm like, these are still here. And I think that kind of ground and pound strategy, but you have a brand because you have a logo, you have a name you're going by, you have a company name you're going by, and that can be a good use of kind of what you're doing. Another thing you can do if you're new, I don't know if I'd do this if I was brand new. I'd probably do it if I was a year or two in. But one thing that's helped my business tremendously is writing books. You can write a book and pay nothing for it. You can self-publish it for free. It's not going to cost you anything on Amazon through Kindle. And so you self-publish your book. You can order copies for $2 or $3 a copy because you're the author. So you can just pay the cost of shipping and get unlimited copies pretty much. And what we did was we used those as lead aggravators. And we could use those, for credibility builders. When we're talking to referral partners, we walk in with a book. I have financial planner offices in Utah that send us referrals that send us emails every so often. They're like, we're out of books. Can you send us some more? And we'll go on Amazon and we'll pay our $2 a book and we'll send them 25 and we'll have them shipped to their offices. And this Medicare book was written in 2016. I updated it for 3 or 4 years in a row, but it's probably out of date. Like it was probably last updated like 2020. But they give that to every client of theirs, this book that I wrote about Medicare. So like that is one of the best branding tools you can have because it's the gift that keeps on giving. I used to walk into houses with these with these books, and every person I met with, I'd leave them with the book. And if they had 10 agents walk into their house, and some people do when they're turning 65, some people like just completely overwhelm themselves and talk to too many people. But if they talk to 10 people and you're 1 out of 10, you're the only person that walked in with a book with your name on it that you wrote. And they're going to instantly, without ever even looking at the book, and chances are they won't, but they're like, well, that motherfucker wrote a book. He must really be an expert. And the other guys are going to be a little bit more forgettable.
That's actually a good point that you bring up because, well, I was with you with the laundry mat because I did the same thing. There was like a bulletin on the bottom. We had like this when I lived in this apartment complex, like this huge shared laundromat because it was like a pretty big complex. And I would post the sign up of like whatever my ad is, and and then the little thing where you had the numbers and you can tear it off, and I remember doing that, and that brought me some flashbacks. And then whenever they
Yeah.
would take it off, because you're not supposed to put it on the bulletin board, I just went back and put another one on. So you just sort of have to do that, right? It's a testament of, again, sweat equity, and like you just have to scratch and claw. Now, the book thing, in my opinion, would maybe, I mean, you said it was for newer agents. Would you agree that it's also going to be a pretty good strategy for people who have been in the industry for a little bit? And I
Yeah.
think you said a year or two, but like, just sort of in the median, like 3 years even,
Hmm.
right? 3, 4 year, that kind of agent, I think that
Yeah.
would be awesome for.
I think if you're 10 years in, you could benefit from something like that. I think like I think I just think it's such a unique thing even still. Like when I did it, there was no agents doing it. So like and now there's a few agents I've seen that do it. Like, there's agencies that license out their book rights to people now. There's a couple that do it, but there's still like one out of 1,000 agents will do it, and so I think it just sets you apart so well. It's a great branding tool. People are always so afraid about writing books. They're like, I'm not a writer. I'm going to take, um, I'm not a writer. I, you know, want to take my time. They take 2 or 3 years making sure it's perfect. I've written all books that I've ever written in like a month or less. Like I just power through these things. They're not long. They're like 80 pages, 100 pages, 150 pages. They're quick reads, and my books have been very successful for my business. My book does not have to be a best written. My book needs to get my point across, articulate it in the way I want to articulate it, be proofread by somebody, and then let's send it out. Like with especially with clients, especially with Medicare clients in particular, if you have for all the people that read your book, you're going to have like 90 that don't, that never open it. You don't need them to read it. If they don't ever open it, it might as well be a coloring book. It doesn't matter. They see a topic that they want to know more about, that they need help with, that you are, your name is on that cover as the author. You instantly, from a psychological perspective, are branded in their minds as an authority. You are the expert, you're the authority, and that will never leave their mind. They're going to either they because throughout our entire lives, we've always looked at people that wrote books on topics as experts. We see them on television shows getting interviewed. We see them all over the place. So your book could suck, but most people aren't ever going to know that because they're not going to read it. The average American reads half a book a year. So they're not, and they're not going to read your Medicare book. Some people do. I've had people that read my books and they ask all these questions about them and things like that. But again, the purpose of the book is to plant that credibility seed with your clients. And that's the only purpose of the book. It's a lead magnet.
Yeah, and I've seen people even use white label versions of books and then
Yeah.
just plug their name in. Boom, credibility. So I guess you can get a little bit creative, and so that's actually a nugget I haven't heard actually is yeah, the whole book process. Create your own book. It seems intimidating, but just the way that you explained it right now, and then just the idea I just had right now, like,
Yeah.
you can
Have
white label
have have Chat GPT write it.
book.
Like,
And 80% of it will be true. And again, they're not going to read the book. So anyway. But yeah, no, some of those books, I've actually, opened it. I've actually read it just as a Medicare agent's perspective.
mm-hmm.
And it even like helps out Medicare agents that are new to just read a book. And because,
Yeah.
sometimes you think that the day-to-day doesn't go, past their brain. Sometimes it's, like, and it happens to me too. Sometimes I'll have like like the smallest, like most obvious question, I'm like, oh crap, yeah, yeah, I forgot about that. So I feel
Hmm.
like a new agent would definitely benefit from that as well too, just reading over the ABCs, of Medicare. Now,
Yeah.
um, for the median agent, besides, the book, what else do you think a median agent should do to not only get to the next level, but thrive in that, year two, three, four, uh, I guess third year agents, fourth year agents, fifth year agents, let's say, for example.
Yeah.
What are some tips that they need to start doing to make their business, or at the very least, have them thrive at that stage of their business?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think once an agent's gotten into it a few years, right, they have some clients under their belt, they have established a foundation for their business. If they're not doing any kind of advertising or marketing, it's time to start doing something. So pick one thing, I think, to start off with to spend money on advertising. For me, it always started with one thing. The first thing that I did that was paid advertising was branded direct mail. And we still do that to this day, but it's not nearly as much as it used to be. We've pulled our budget probably 70% of what it used to be because, direct mail just is a little tough these days. Um, but we still get some marketing for it. It could be seminars. It could be, again, branded direct mail. It could be running a Facebook ad. Um, it could be, man, there's so many different things you could do. Billboards, although I would definitely not start with billboards. But there's things that you can do that you can spend a little bit of money on and get yourself out there. I was at this crazy event last week. Um, I won't say too much details about what it was or what it was for. Um, you know, secret society type stuff. But um, but I met an agent that last AEP literally put an ad in the newspaper and got flooded with business. The newspaper. I couldn't believe it. I was like, are you either lying to me or I'm not I haven't thought about that. I know agents that run um radio ads, or
Yeah,
they have entire
I do
radio
too.
shows. They
Yeah.
have like a weekly show. I think Rebecca Davis was doing that or does do that or something like that. Um,
I don't want to call out names, but I know that this works because I'll see these certain individuals at like carrier top carrier, or sorry, top producing agent carrier trips, and I would ask like, hey, what, obviously I'm gonna ask what their lead sources are, and a good amount of them are like, I got a spot on the radio, and it just keeps coming in, it doesn't stop, and I'm like,
yeah,
good radio, huh?
radio,
Yeah.
radio. Like, think about it, Andrew. When's the last time you listened to the radio?
Yeah, yesterday, or no, was that yesterday?
Really?
No, no, on Saturday I was listening to the Lakers game because I was driving.
Okay. How often do you listen to the radio?
Besides that, I don't.
Okay. So I haven't listened to the radio in probably 10 years. Like I can't remember the last time I turned on the radio, but radio stations are still in business.
Yeah,
How?
online.
Seniors keep them in business.
Seniors.
In my opinion. In my opinion. I think like if someone's listening to the radio, it's probably seniors that are listening to it probably the most. So it makes a lot of sense. Um, there is, there's SEO. You can drive SEO content. You can do pay per click on Google. There's so many things you can do. So the best advice I would give to an agent in that scenario is what kind of paid marketing and advertising do you want to do? Pick one and let's really, really work that and get it to a place where you're really, really crushing it with it. Like you've gone through the tests, you try it one way for 2 or 3 weeks, you make some tweaks. You try it one way for a week or two, you make some tweaks, and you just tweak and tweak and tweak and change and adjust. And then you have this process built out where you're like, okay, this is like a faucet. I just turn it on and business flies out like water would. And then and only then am I recommending that people add other types of paid marketing. I think you need to have one that's actually going. I think a big mistake that a lot of agents make that are in that scenario that you're talking about, right? They're 3 years in, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years in, is they start trying to learn how to do paid marketing and advertising, and they're trying to learn everything all at the same time. And they never get any momentum doing anything. And it's almost like a noose around their neck that's dragging them down because they never take the time to actually put that effort and that attention into one facet and get it down really good. Because marketing is a science. All types of marketing is a science. And so you really have to pay very close attention to something. For us, we do a lot of different types of paid advertising, paid marketing, but I didn't add it all overnight. It's years of testing things, trying things, and adding things to it slowly. It wasn't immediately, and there's still things that we can add, but I think that's the best thing you can do if you are a 3 to 5 year in agent and you want to add marketing is figure out what type of, paid advertising you want to do, and then put your focus into that for like 6 months and don't waver from it. And if something starts working and working extremely well, double down, like double what you're spending, like increase it. Like Becky Real is a great example. She's an agent that we work with in Pennsylvania. Her paid advertising up until this point has been 100% branded direct mail. And she's been licensed 3 years, just past 1,000 client mark, just from that pretty much. I mean, she does networking events. She's tremendous at her, networking and getting referrals as well. But like, she's crushing it with this branded direct mail, and so there's so many ways that you can get business, but like just really getting good at one thing and then adding to it is to me what's going to be the most realistic for a lot of agents.
Yeah. And once you start doing that, you're going to start scaling up into
Mm-hmm.
becoming an agency and becoming a not only a top producer, but just a top agency. For the people that are there now, including yourself, I mean, at that point, they've already got their marketing pretty much down. And at that point, they're just scaling because something's been working.
Yeah.
What advice? Because I know you just came back from the secret society meeting, so I know you got some juicy, no, juicy advice for people who are advanced yet not at the secret meeting. What do you say to people who are advanced right now, and what kind of besides AI, because that's going to be a whole different topic,
Yes.
we're going to go over. What's something that they do or they can do to be successful in that state of their career?
So I think you mentioned the word scale, and I think it's appropriate here. I think a lot of people that are get really good at marketing, they reach an impasse. And the impasse is they have too much business coming in for them to work it by themselves. So they have basically the fork in the road, and they have two paths they can go down, and they have to make a choice. The first path they can go down is they cap it where they're at, and they just, they write a bunch of apps every month themselves. They don't increase their ad spend, and they just chill, and they run that into the ground until it stops working. Because it's been said before, marketers ruin everything. Eventually trends change and things like that, it might not work as well as it did at one point. The other way you can go is find ways to scale up your infrastructure and your company and your what's the word I'm looking for? We'll just say your organization. You're trying to find ways to kind of scale up your organization. So that comes through hiring people, trying to get people to come in. Okay, so if it's just me and I'm writing 30 apps a month for this lead source and I'm crushing it, right? If I bring in another person, I teach them, they can be 75% as good as me, and I double my ad spend on what I'm spending. I'm doubling what I'm spending on this really good lead source. Can we get up to 50 apps a month? What if I bring in two people, and then you just start to kind of like really grow, and the business again becomes a business, like you said, an agency. And it's more than just a great producing agent at that point. And most people, a majority, stay here where they just absolutely keep crushing it and they're great agents, but they could, like, instead of they're doing their 30 apps a month, let's say, all year round, they're doing 360, 400 apps a year. They could be doing 3 or 4,000 apps a year in a couple of years if they would just go out on a limb and build that company around them. And I think that really holds some people back because it's scary to bring people into your business, especially if you never have before. It's scary to hire, it's scary to train, it's scary to put trust into people. But that is really kind of going to be like, you need that infrastructure. You really, really do. There's very few people out there. There's exceptions to every rules. There's agents that you and I both know that do a crap ton of business every month, and there's just them, and they're the exceptions to the rule. But for most people, you're going to need an organization around you, and so that comes from being willing to spend more, being willing to invest more into your business, and keep that spend growing as your revenue grows. And that's not always fun because sometimes you just want to take that money and play around with it. You want to go to Vegas? I'm going to Vegas this weekend. And like sometimes you just want to like hang. You just want to, chill. And it's not as much fun, like if you keep increasing what you're spending, you can't live as freely as you could. It definitely puts pressure on you. And that's kind of the decision that people need to make is like, what do I want to be? What do I want to be in this business? But yeah, I think the main way to grow past that is build infrastructure around you, hire people, and once you have an organization, I mean, you need to spend a lot more if you have an organization on your ad spend to get the production up. But that kind of is going to be what's going to help you write 100 apps a month, 2, 3, 4, 5, 600, 1,000 apps a month.
Right. And yeah, I mean, finding the right mentor and FMO and what have you is going to play a huge factor in that because if their FMO, if their identity is based off of, trying to scale you up and, turning you into a monster business, then of course those are the people that you want to go with. But it really depends on you, the agent, right? And,
Yeah.
if you don't want that, some people don't, it is just what it is. Some
Right.
people
And
are
that's
fine
fine.
with just a casual, $100,000, if not less than that too, and just fine with where they are, and they still do have freedom of time.
Yep.
Then great, but for the people that want to level up, obviously you'd want to go find a mentor, find like I said, an organization that does where you want to be at, and obviously go out to conferences, right? So there's going to be a huge conference coming up here in Salt Lake City, June 9th to June 10th, which I will be in attendance, and it just happens to be Christian Brindle's insurance conference in Salt Lake City, the six-figure Medicare Agent Summit, right? And I
That's
went
it.
last year.
That's
I
it.
had a blast. I had a blast last year. Salt Lake City is a charming town. If you guys are, just looking to, I mean, LA and Southern California, we have great weather, all that stuff. It's just such a different scenery out in
Mm-hmm.
Utah. So I'm gonna go check that out, and maybe see some other towns around. So I'll be there for a little while there. And some of the besides that, some of the knowledge that I got last year from the conference was awesome. It's not a convention, it's not an expo, it's not just a bunch of lead vendors sitting around and asking, "Hey, how do you get your leads?" It's actually it's actually a conference full of actual substance, right?
Yeah.
The speakers, right? They're coming out. What I loved about it, what I did love about it was there was not too much hoorah,
Mm-hmm.
which I personally don't really like just because I've seen it all and I've heard it all. And if I need to pump myself up, I can do that myself, right?
Yeah.
Uh, but some of I get pumped up over the content, right? It could be said in the most subtle, nuance, like there it could be something small that was said, and I'm like, in my head, I'm like, wow, that is a nugget. And dang, why am I not doing that? So last year, you had a full panel of speakers, ranging from people who have who have huge FMOs and well known all over the well known to us insurance agents all over the country, and also people who specialize in ACA, life, Medicare, what have you. There's a gamut, there's a spread of people, a wealth of knowledge that does show up to your conference. So I am super stoked about it. There's going to be some VIP parties. There's going to be an opening party where everybody gets to network with each other. It's not so much that you don't know everybody there. It's still, I wouldn't say intimate because it is still a big summit, but it's intimate enough for you not to be so lost and you're just like sort of roaming around and you got to say hi to everybody, or you want to meet the certain type of people you want to meet, but it can't because there's too many people. I think his conference is the perfect size for a conference, and also the events that are going to happen I'm excited for, and it's just a good time, one of my favorite conferences of the year. So Christian, I was gonna have you advertise that yourself, but I did my due diligence and
You
said it
know
for
that
you. Hey,
that was
myself.
awesome. I really appreciate all the kind words on that, brother. And yeah, I mean we're extremely excited about it. It is, man, it's less than 3 weeks away now. I think this coming Thursday, the kickoff day, the arrival day will be in 2 weeks, I want to say. Um, and so it's coming up fast. We're really, really excited about it. I mean, I think, Andrew hit everything right on the head. We have an amazing lineup of speakers. Last year, one thing I consistently heard last year from people that attended that maybe went to some other events was our speaking lineup was better than anybody else's. And I don't think that's even debatable. I mean,
Can we
we
drop
had
some names? Can we drop some names for the people out there?
absolutely. So last year we had people like Danielle Kunkel Roberts of Boomer Benefits. We had Galen Hendricks of Senior Security Benefits. We had Ryan Kimball of Agent Pipeline Integrity. Um, we had Justin Brock. We had Chris Weir of Lead Concepts. We had, of course, myself. We had so many people: Josh Lustig, Justin Thomas, Matt Murray. Then the list goes on and on and on. And so, I mean, we had such a balance of sales training, um, marketing talk. Like there was a very good balance. Rebecca Davis. We had so many
Yeah.
great. Um,
ACA, the technology,
yeah,
obviously technology was huge. Justin
Brad
Thomas,
Hannon,
Hero.
Justin Thomas was incredible, and everybody. I don't think there was one dud, or let down speaker. I think it was just consistently like every person gave you something different, and it was great. This year, we're gonna have, of course, Galen Hendricks is going to be there once again. We have Kim Patterson, who is the head of compliance for Agent Pipeline and Really Integrity. So she's going to be talking about the new CMS final rule, and kind of talking about some things that maybe some people haven't noticed about it. Um, so we're super excited to have her. We have a lot of new people. We have Malia Rogers. We have Jolene Allen. We have Joanna Wyckoff. We have, of course, Glenn Shelton, Eric Fierro. Both were there last year. They're going to be back this year. We have a dynamite speaking lineup. Lester Kahn, with Agent Pipeline. So there's a really, really good lineup again this year. It's a little bit of a different lineup, but there's some people that are going to be speaking that maybe you haven't heard before, but once you hear them, you won't be able to forget that you heard them. And so we're super excited about it. We spared no expense on the parties. Each party was north of 10 grand that we spent on them. um, so the parties should be fantastic. We're super excited about it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it'll be a great event.
No, that's awesome. Now, so for people who are attending for their first time, like what I mean, of course they're gonna learn all this stuff, but like what should they expect? Like besides, nuggets, besides, the parties, like when they, I give you sort of my testimonial, but what should they expect when they leave your conference?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think that what they should be able to expect is they should walk away with a notebook of notes. assuming they're taking notes, they should leave with a lot of great ideas they haven't thought about before. And it's not just from the speakers either. You and I both know, both of us have attended a ton of conferences. Nobody is better at networking at these events than you are. um, but those private conversations outside of the event is just as valuable as some nuggets that you get on from somebody off on stage. And so you should be able to go back with tons of nuggets. My advice typically is you can't implement everything you hear. It's just typically going to be too much for most people if you've never been to an event. So what I recommend is making a list of everything you learned that you'd like to implement and pick a few, pick two, maybe three that you can implement right away. And you'll see improvement in your business just from that alone. And then maybe you can implement some more down the road. But the last thing you want to do is overwhelm yourself and try to implement 25 things, and you get overwhelmed and you just give up, and you've gotten nothing out of the event. And sometimes that does happen to people. That's not what we want. We want you to take the information and utilize it. So I think you should be able to expect, going home feeling good, feeling high, emotional high of your business. We're not going to get you high or anything like that. And walking away with some great ideas and some great, new things you might have not thought of or known about for your business.
Yeah, no, like last year, my goal was to master my automations, and I set up my automations last year at your conference. So go
Yeah.
figure, you know. Cool. Where can people that want to attend find more information about this or get their tickets? Because obviously the clock is ticking.
Yeah.
Where can they get the information so that they can make their decision if they want to go ahead and come out?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. So the best place to go is if you go on Google and you type in Six Figure Medicare Agent Summit. First link that's going to pop up, sixfiguremedicareagentsummit.com. And you can find all the information about tickets on there. We're sold out of our higher end gold tickets, but we do still have some general admission tickets left. So those are still available up for grabs if anybody wants them.
Yeah, and you know what? I just got my hotel last week, so apparently there's still rooms at the Sheraton that sometimes like show up. So,
Yeah.
guys, get your tickets, get your rooms available as well too, and I'll see you guys out there. This is hopefully a conference where I get to see a lot of you California people there, just because it's pretty close to where we're at, and the airplane ticket wasn't even that bad either. So yeah, very excited to see anybody that's in the Medicare game and the health insurance game, even life insurance, come out and learn something, hang out, and if I see enough California people, I might have a quick surprise for you guys as well too, if I do see enough of you guys out there. So Christian, again, thanks for joining me, and
Thank you
always
for
love
having
to
me.
have you on. Yeah, of course. You're a wealth of knowledge, good dude. And again, I want to thank everybody else for tuning in as well too. And this is gonna go up on YouTube. So again, like and subscribe. Please support our channel because we want to do big things and good things for you guys. So with that, we are out. Peace out. Have a great week.